Welcome back to another episode of the Run and Shoot podcast. I'm Ryan. I'm joined by my co-host, Chuck. How's it going today, Chuck?
It's going good, brother, man. It's been exciting this week with sports. You know, even though we do this weekly, ton to talk about, man. I am excited.
We went from famine to feast. We got tons of sports. I've loved having all of the basketball games on. We got the MLB going on. Several other sports going on out there. And the NFL's getting kicked off.
Right.
We'll get into some of that. You're already seeing a lot of injuries coming out of training camp, which is kind of, unfortunately, normal anyways when training camp kicks off. We'll break more into that. But, Chuck, go ahead and hit us with the headlines.
Yeah, this is called the opening drive, so let's strap your buckle your chin straps and let's get going. We got the NBA news, so we might as well start there because a lot of going on, man. I mean, this bubble thing has been fun. It's been a blast. Not only have, like I said, I'm going to touch off with something positive. Still 0 tests. Awesome. I just looked up at a report today on my phone saying that at Disney World where they're holding that down there, 0 tests in the bubble. So that's a good positive going forward.
They're doing a good job with that.
They're doing a great job, and it's really setting the example of how to be done during this pandemic. So we could see a lot of these bubbles in the future, as we saw a report today that the NFL is considering doing a bubble for the playoffs. So it's setting a great example. It's setting the tone. I like it. So as you know, this may be old news. Memphis did lose to the play-in game. And, you know, they lost. There's nothing to be ashamed about. You know, this team they lost to is Portland. I mean, Portland's on fire. Damian Lillard is on another level of play. To me, right now, he's the MVP. As of right now, I did say last week LeBron could be the MVP. But Lillard, man, is just playing out of his mind right now.
He really is. Dame is on another level. He's totally on fire. You saw as he just beat the Lakers to go up 1-0 there.
There you go.
And just shooting it from all over the place.
It's scary his range is, man. Just when he's one of the more underrated players, but it's really starting to show what kind of special player he really is. People say, well, you got your James Harden, you got Stephon Curry, who is probably the best pure shooter. I can challenge that. I think Dame is probably the best pure shooter in the league right now.
Yeah, they're playing really well. Again, we've been on that wagon a little bit. We talked about how fun that team is. And for a lot of people, they kind of come out of nowhere as far as just to come onto the scene and play this well, especially to get the 1-0 advantage on a 1 seed right out of the gate. But the reason they've been able to do that is because they benefited from the pandemic, right? They had a chance to get healthy with Lillard and Nurkic and Collins even.
Even Melo got a little rest there, too, man. You can start seeing his play was not that great. Dame was being very critical on him, too. I mean,
Bubble Melo's been clutch in a lot of games. I know both games that they played against Memphis.
This team is starting to really glue together. It's meshed together. This is a scary team for any team that they will come up against. So the Lakers are reeling, but this is a best of 7, you know. We've got a long ways to go.
We got to also look back. So Memphis did get eliminated, but in both games against Portland, a solid squad, they put up a hell of a fight. You saw Ja Morant go out there, 35 points in that game. He was getting it from wherever he wanted. He was 3 of 6 from 3, had 4 rebounds, 8 assists. He had the offense clicking and was just showing that he's a scoring machine as well as being able to handle all the other responsibilities of being a solid point guard. So, again, however you look at it, it's invaluable minutes for the young guys in this Memphis squad that really, going into the season, you didn't expect a lot out of. But they've shown quite the promising future to look forward to.
Well, we saw a lot of men grow up. You know, there was a lot of situations that Memphis had that we had some of the young guys, other than Morant, that had to grow up, that had to be filling in a better role than just, you know, watching from the sidelines. And that's a good thing, man. That's baptism by fire. So, yes, our future in the Grizz Nation down there in Memphis is looking very good.
Yeah, and you like what you saw from Dylan Brooks. He played well for the most part. Also, Triple J played well till he went down. He's going to have a great future. And when you have him and Morant together, we'll see what we'll get out of Winslow again because he came in that trade for Iguodala, and we've not got to see him on the floor yet. And we'll see, potentially somebody can be lured there this offseason. I won't speculate just yet, but.
Well, you never know. It won't be Andre Iguodala, I promise you that.
I don't think we want Iguodala or Iguodala.
What a joke. What a joke. But it's just nothing to be ashamed of in our loss to Portland. We pushed. It was some bad mojo that we had there in the bubble as far as our play. It just didn't work out. Wasn't in the cards. Injuries got to us. I'm proud of those guys. As a Memphis fan, I'm excited to see where we're going with our future, and it's going forward into the future, being one of the contenders in the West.
It's going to be a fun team to watch going forward. I hope we can bring back, this core and, again, add to it a little bit. See how we go forward. But as we look still at the NBA there, Chuck, what are some of the things that you've noticed as far as just across the board?
The bubble is really setting in as far as, like, the play. We talked about this a little bit last week, how it's different. Like, the atmosphere is different. Yeah, you got the fans on Skype and Zoom and whatnot on the screens, but the atmosphere is different. And you could tell when they were playing, like when Milwaukee was playing, they were so out of whack, man.
They got off to a slow start, to say the least.
Orlando.
Giannis didn't have an answer for Orlando.
They have not had it since they've gotten this bubble. Ever since they got in the bubble, they have not been that same team that dominated the league, man. I'm telling you, what I can take from what you just said, the bubble is really starting to make this playoff unpredictable. And to me, that's what we need. We need this unpredictability. Could we see a Portland in the finals? It's very possible.
You're right.
Could we see Orlando in the finals? You know what? It's possible.
That's the exciting thing about the dynamic we have here. Like we mentioned before, there's not really home teams. The seeds don't mean a ton other than the matchups.
Right.
And there's going to be a lot of unpredictable things happen. It's just they're going out there, they're throwing it on the floor. You don't have the added pressure of the fans being there. And I think they were able to bring some of their family members down there, right? So
yeah, right.
That's going to help some of those guys. Utah is going to get Conley back. He left for the birth of his son. And so when he comes back, he can add to that team who got a big win, to even that series up 1-1. But you look, Milwaukee really couldn't do much against the Magic. 122-110, probably the biggest surprise of the first round, because I don't think the Blazers upsetting the Lakers, especially in Game 1, was that big of a surprise.
Well, I was more surprised with LA and the Portland game. I mean, they had them on their heels. I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks, like I said, I'm not really surprised by the loss to Orlando. I'm surprised by the score of it. What was it? 122-110. Wow. I mean,
Giannis put up 31.
But that's not enough. You can
17 rebounds and 7 assists, but he got no help.
That's what I'm saying. The bench was very weak. Where was Bledsoe, man? Where was he? I mean, I felt like that guy
1 of 5 from 3 land. I mean, he put up 15 points, but he was just absent, other than that 5 assists.
He's not that key. He wasn't that key player that he was in the regular season. So to me, I see more of surprise because I figure LA, they're a little more in tune in the bubble. Yes, they've kind of had their struggles, but not as bad as Milwaukee.
And Vucevic, Nikola down there, he went off.
Yeah.
Right? 35 points, 14 rebounds. He had 4 assists to add on top of that. Got a little help from Terrence Ross, but across the board, they looked like just a more fluid, put-together team. Looked like they were having more fun out there.
Well, it just goes back to what I said. This bubble's really doing something different with these teams, man. It's really this is about as level of a playing field as I ever seen in a playoff, in a tournament, whatever you want to call it. It is so level, man.
It makes it a little more exciting.
It makes it fun. It makes it unpredictable. So my reaction to the top seeds, it's early. It's Game 1. They're getting their feet wet. It's nice to see the little guys getting it done, seeing Portland still being dangerous as ever behind the arc, man. But it just goes to show you, we're in for one exciting playoff time, man.
Oh, you're right. I mean, today, to update, we saw Toronto go up 2-0 over Brooklyn, 104-99. Of course, the Jazz, as we mentioned, 124-105 to even that series. And also, we're waiting on Dallas, LA at the time of this recording, but Boston really took it to the Sixers. They now lead that 2-0, but they lose Hayward. So what are your expectations in that series now?
That could hurt them, man, but I feel like they've got enough young talent, a young nucleus there to pull through against Philly. I mean, they've already done it with one game already without Hayward. But let me go back to the Dallas game. Did you see one of the Dallas players got ejected?
It was Porzingis.
It was Porzingis.
It was horseshit.
I mean, for crying out loud, it was a barely shove, and the refs tossed him out. I mean, that was, come on. You're going to have scuffles. It's a playoff, man. Let the boys play. Let them go out there and play some playoff basketball. And, I mean, this ain't ballet. This ain't, badminton. If you touch somebody, you're ejected, for freaking crying out loud.
Yeah, he already had 14 and 6 when he got ejected, too. He's a big part of that offense. I think him and Luka have really, I kind of doubted it first because it's like you pair them together and you're like, all right, two foreign ballers here pairing up. You would think it's a match made in heaven. And that's exactly why I thought may not work. I don't know if it's the matchup that you're really going to need, just the style that Luka plays, but they've meshed, I think, pretty sweet. That's a team that I think has a real bright future.
Well, Luka's is that distributor. I mean, Porzingis can be that scorer, but he's more of that inside presence to get that rebound. Luka can score too.
I mean, yeah, he had 42 in that game.
Yeah,
of course.
He can score. He can score too, but I really like his distribution of that ball, man. I mean, he gets
42
it out
points and only 2 of 6 from 3. So think about that.
That's crazy, man.
Right? Pretty solid.
That is solid.
Now he was 14 of 15 from the free throw line, but Luka, he's able to create a basket. He's an exciting player. He's still so young too, but I mean, he got it done against the best of the best overseas at a young age. Some veteran guys.
Very.
And he comes over here, and I'm going to be honest. When we drafted Triple J in that draft, going into it, I was like, if we draft this Luka guy, I swear to God,
it was a high possibility.
But you know what? Oh man, I feel like an idiot. Now I would not give up Triple J, but I mean, let's be honest. Luka would be an exciting player.
Could you imagine
to have
Luka,
on any team?
Would you imagine Luka and Morant on the same team?
Pretty solid, right?
Scary. But hey, happy to have Triple J. I mean, he's already starting to become a good pillar for our team right now. So we came out win-win either way, man. It's all good. It's all good. But going back to Boston, it just depends who they're going to meet in the next round. I think they'll handle Philly just fine without Hayward. And then, of course, you got the Mavs. They've got work to do, but I think they can get it turned around. Jazz is going to be a very potential. Houston, I mean, we're in for a wild one. And then in the East, you got the Pacers still got to come up. You still got, I think, Milwaukee and Orlando, I think, go at it again tomorrow. I'm telling you, I mean, we could see one of these 1 seeds go down early. It's a high possibility at this point. If it does happen, who is it more likely to go down first?
In the East?
I'm talking number 1 seeds in the West or in the East. Who's more likely to go down in the first round? It's tough because you got the struggling Bucks against a very average Orlando team.
Yeah, I don't see Orlando winning that series. So I guess I would say, the Lakers, and I'm not hating on the Lakers because I think that they're going to turn this thing right back around, but I think it's the most unpredictable of those two matchups.
Well, I bet they were praying to get Memphis. They were praying probably to get us because they knew that Portland is just balling out right now.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted Portland. The Phoenix Suns, I don't know if they wanted to run into those guys either. They go 8-0 and don't make it in, but I mean, they had their chances. They lost 3 of 4 against the Grizz this season. That's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm saying, too. But that does not need to go unnoticed, though, man. They played well. They played great.
Oh, yeah, they played well. And again, we'll see If Booker's going to stay there, I think they have a lot more leverage to keep him there. We mentioned that before, but Phoenix got a bright future too. But they're just, it's not going to be this year.
Right. But we had UFC 252 this weekend, man. So we had some good fights. We had DC lose to Maunick, and he retains his title there in the main event. Probably the biggest one to me, though, was Vera upset O'Malley. O'Malley was undefeated, man. He was on a good streak, and then Vera put him down. That's a shocker of the night for me, man.
You're always going to run into that one.
Yeah, I really don't have much to touch up on, but it seems like, I think the biggest thing I'll touch up on, it seems like they're getting it figured out, too, with, how to hold this event with COVID stuff going on. So
probably the easiest. I mean, you don't really see much out of the crowd at those shows. The noise, plays into it. And for the fighters, I'm sure it's better too. But I don't know. Would you like it better to have all the fans there, or would there be less pressure on you going in there as the fighter? Just you in the ring with the equipment guys around you and your corner guys.
It don't matter. It's not like you're a team. You're an individual at this point. It really doesn't matter if you have a fan or not. I mean, I'm just speaking from a guy. If I was a fighter, I don't need no fan base. If I have a following, that's great.
Right, it's a pretty intense sport, right? You're going in there and you're battling each other. You're beating the hell out of each other.
So my last thing on my mind is fans, because I'm going to have to worry about beating the guy that's in front of me.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, it's give and take. Some do play up to the fans. Tito Ortiz played up to the fans. Chuck Liddell really didn't play up to the fans, and look, I think he's the better fighter for it. Just saying. But, so it was a successful event at UFC 252, and going forward, I see it becoming more of a trend, as far as like with how they're handling COVID. Seem like they're doing a good job with that as well. But during the week after the event, we had some big news. Jon Bones Jones, Mr. I can't keep clean from a drug test.
Oh, no.
Has vacated his light heavyweight championship.
Yet again, I mean, he can't stay out of trouble. He's one of the baddest dudes on the face of the earth, but man, he can't stay out of trouble. I don't know what happened this time. Tell me, what is it that he's dealing with this time?
I mean, I tried to look up on ESPN, CBS Sports, and I couldn't really find a real reason. He said this: it's officially up for grabs. His world light heavyweight title. It's been an amazing journey. Sincere thank you to all my competition, UFC, and most importantly, you fans. That's what he did in a subsequent tweet. And he also said he had a really good, positive conversation with UFC. Sounds like there will be negotiations for my next fight at heavyweight. All good news. The weight gaining process begins. So it doesn't seem like there's trouble. It seems like he wants to move up to another class. So, I mean, maybe he's like, well, I've been there in the lightweight championship for a while, and I kind of want to go to heavyweight. But it makes me wonder, with his history, is UFC trying to cover something up here, or is it just he's just really wanting to move over? What you got, Ryan?
I have no idea. We've seen him get into trouble time after time. Again, one of the baddest dudes on the face of the earth. I think we see him clean things up again. He'll be back. I don't think we've seen the last of Jon Bones Jones.
No.
I just, hope the best for the guy.
It just makes you kind of raise an eyebrow a little bit. That's all. I mean, why would you randomly vacate your title? I mean, I get
something's going on.
You want to move up a class, and I guess that's part of the rules with you being UFC, that you got to vacate your title. I get that. So hopefully that's the real reason why he did. Hopefully there's not a cover-up. Hopefully he didn't fail another test. I really want to see this guy succeed because he is a unique fighter. He's a big guy. He's got that long, lengthy body, but he's strong. I mean, he's just got all the tangibles of a great UFC fighter. Probably the ones that we can probably see in this, probably the best one we can see in this generation. So let's hope for the best for the guy.
Hoping the best for him.
So with that being said, let's talk about some baseball going on in the MLB. As you know, the Braves are kind of slumping, man. I said last week they got a chokehold on the division. They're currently tied right now for the division.
Well, they've won 3 out of the last 4. They've lost 5 out of the last 8, but you're going to see things turn around. The pitching staff's going to figure things out eventually. Tonight, if they ever get things going, the Nationals game's actually in a delay right now, but it's supposed to be Christian Patchy's first game as an Atlanta Brave, highly touted prospect. Real excited to actually see what he can do out there in left field. He's going to be wearing the number 14. Kyle Wright's supposed to start tonight. Hopefully he can get things together. But, yeah, I mean, it's still fairly early on. But, like I said, they've won 3 out of the last 4. I think they'll turn things around. Again, the bats are still getting lit up.
Yeah, right. I mean, the offense is there, but it goes back to what I said. The bullpen is going to be the Achilles heel of this team, man.
I think they'll get things together. I think they'll figure it out. It's still some young guys that have to just get their role down, and Acuna's got to get healthy too. Also, hopefully we can keep him and Ozzie healthy at the same time.
You got to. You better pray you have to. I mean, the bats can light up all day. You know that, right, in baseball, but you got to have that bullpen that's got to bring it home. It goes back to, like, football. Defense wins championships. Bullpens win championships, in my opinion. You got to have that good defensive pitching group there. And to me, I just don't feel like the Braves have it right now. They're slumping, but you have your months when you slump, and then you have your months when you hot. So I think we're just seeing a little bit of slump, but it's different. You don't need to slump too much, man.
Yeah,
you don't need to slump too much, especially with the short schedule that baseball has. I think it's just only 60 games. And you think, oh, that's a little while, but it's not really in baseball terms, man. You got how many games you usually play a week? About 3 or 4 games a week?
Yeah, depending, and probably stacking some of those this year, the way they have to. But I mean, when you look out there, I mean, you can look out there across the standings right now as it sets. In the NL East, the Braves, still leading 14-11. The leaders of the NL Central, the Chicago Cubs, 16-8. I don't think a lot of people are surprised there, though. The Cubs, pretty talented. And, of course, the Dodgers out there in the West, that team, star-studded. They got Mookie in the offseason. And, I mean, wow, he got out of Boston.
You got Cody
just in time because they have been a shit show.
You got Cody over there, too, man. He's a bomber, man. He was a bomber last year. So I'm assuming he's bombing it out right now, balling out as usual. But you also got the Padres, who is just really been the darlings of baseball so far. And speaking of Padres, we had some little controversy happen this week. And, this bugs me a little bit. Fernando Tatis Jr., this guy he's one of the younger guys of the baseball club. They were leading. Who were they playing? I forget. But anyways, he was getting pitched to as a 3-0 pitch, and the pitcher pitches it. Tatis Jr. hits it, goes out of the park, grand slam, congratulations. It was his first grand slam. And then you get these clowns that are getting trampled on saying he broke an unwritten rule in baseball.
Look.
I mean, come on. Come on. I say screw you, buddy. It's my first grand slam. If you wanted to stop me so bad, pitch way out there and take me to base then.
Right. It was the Rangers game this happened.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
The thing is, it's the pitcher's job to get outs. Did the bases get loaded while you were up there? Did you throw that pitch that got, sent right out of the park?
It was gone.
Yeah, look.
Gone.
It's his job to hit dingers. It's your job to prevent those dingers and to get outs. And look, I'm never a believer in taking the foot off the gas. I don't care what sport it is. And maybe if you're up 100-1, I could consider it. You're not going to see that. And in baseball, you could see some crazy comebacks happen. You could see some crazy rallies. I never discourage dingers, right? That's what's keeping the league alive.
Exactly. It just goes back to like football, man. If you're up 70-0 and you're still scoring on the puny team, and you get mad, say, "Well, stop scoring." Well, stop me from scoring.
Right.
Stop me. I mean,
my team's going to do their jobs, and I expect your team to do their job, whether it be on the offense or the defensive side of the ball. Look, I'm going to do what I came to do, and I feel like on the other side of the ball, figure it out.
Well, it's just So this is one unwritten rule in baseball you don't agree with.
I absolutely don't.
I mean, we know baseball is this, traditional sport, has its historic unwritten rules. If you hit one of my guys on the base, guess what? My pitcher's going to come out and hit your guy on the base. It's tradition. You get it. It happens all the time.
They had a decent lead the next night, and he also, Tatis, he stole third, and I was entertained by that, too. Barely squeezed in there.
Tatis, man, that kid, he's good.
Oh, he's killing it right now.
He's killing it. He's been the vocal point, the little lightning rod for this team, the Padres, who have been a laughingstock in baseball for how many years? A long time, and they're leading their division. More ups to them, guys. You know what, Tatis? I hope you're up 20-0 on Texas Rangers or whoever's bitching about this, and you hit dingers every stinking time, buddy. Hit them out of the park.
Well, it's a league that's, it's widely known. Have juiced balls in the past, right?
Right.
The rules are written around where you want the balls hitting out of the park. They've even shortened a lot of these fences. A lot of these fields are made for balls to go soaring, into the stands out there in the outfield. You want to see home runs. That's what McGuire and Sosa got everything excited and, quote, saved baseball during the steroid era, right? You had Barry Bonds. People love to see home runs. Why would you ever try to prevent that as far as, not swinging on a 3-0 count? Give me a break.
I mean, like I said, if you didn't want him to hit it that so bad, pitch way out there. Pitch to the other team's dugout away from him and get a ball, go to base.
Exactly.
So just stop your crying. Stop your crying.
Stop your crying.
So with that being said, I kind of want to go into college football. The SEC schedule's released. We're officially having football in the SEC. I've not seen if ACC or Big 12 have got their schedule out, but I don't care.
A 10-game schedule,
yes.
An SEC gauntlet.
Yes.
How you feeling about it? Obviously, you're excited.
I'm excited, man. It's football. We're going to get college football after all. So what we're going to do, you got Florida. That's your team. You pull for. Of course, I got my beloved Volunteers. What we're going to do, we're going to go week to week. Like, I'll go September 26th. We've got South Carolina and Columbia. Now, what do I think? We won last year, and we beat the brakes off of Will Muschamp's group. They come in, Will Muschamp's cocky, thinking he can beat us. And guess what? We seen him packing back to Columbia with a big L on his forehead, thinking twice, thinking he can own us.
First time you've ever beat him.
And you know what? It wasn't. It felt good. It felt good.
And you think you can get it done week one this
Absolutely.
year?
I think we'll beat them by 14 points.
Okay.
They don't have an offense to really do anything. Defense is there. Will Muschamp will have that defense rocking.
Always.
And I feel like offensively they can't. I think we got a little more firepower than them. I think we'll win 7 to 14 points. Ryan, who you got your first game?
Got Ole Miss.
Oh, you got the Kiffin train coming to town.
That's right, the Lane train. Lane Kiffin, man, I'm kind of worried about that one. I think he's going to have the guys fired up. I've seen some of the videos he's posting on Twitter. Kind of some catchy videos of showing them some highlights, and he's throwing some rap music in there. He's showing that he's hip, right?
Right.
I think he's showing that he's a player's coach, and he's an offensive guy. Ole Miss has got talent down there.
So on 1 to 10, how worried are you about Lane Kiffin's group to really come in there and make some noise in the swamp?
Not worried. I think Florida goes 1-0 after week one. I think they're going to figure it out, but I think we're going to get a little bit of a scare from the Lane train and those guys. Although today I saw a lot of COVID going on down there. I think they had like 7 to 9 players. Don't quote me on that. But there was a group of players that have tested positive down there,
right.
So they're getting a little bit worried about that, going to try to contain that.
Tennessee has had a total of 23 or 24, don't quote me on that, since June. So, I mean,
I don't know the number with Florida. I know Mullen, though, he did say that he does expect maybe some of the staff, some of the players, and he didn't mention who specifically, could opt out.
Right. There is a possibility. It's there. The possibility. The thing is, there won't be no deadline in college. You can opt out at any time. You had that option even before all this happened.
Right.
So,
and then you guys have Muschamp in South Carolina week 1. We got him week 2. So there's, he's trying to come in with his revenge tour. The years that the Muschamp spent in Florida, not enjoyable as a Gators
Where's
fan.
it at? Where's it at?
This one's going to be in Gainesville.
So, I mean, there's a possibility that they might be fans, and I might be veering off a little bit. I'm not trying to overtake your topic here, but
Get it.
The SEC, I mean, the NCAA has told the SEC, you can do whatever you want with attendance. But if you do this, you have to do masks. So the attendance is going to be a possibility. So let's say we got 25,000 fans in Gainesville. You think that'd be a raucous arena there? I mean, raucous area there?
Yeah.
So let's say we got 25,000.
I mean, as much as you can during these times. It's going to be weird however you look at it.
Right. But let's say 25,000 against South Carolina. That's going to help you get that dub, that atmosphere.
I don't know if they need that help. I think they can get past South Carolina. I mean, again, in an SEC gauntlet, man, every week is going to be a test, especially, you look at the way Florida opens up. It's a tough 5-game stretch. I've heard a lot of trash talk about how the schedule's easy. There is no easy schedule when it's a 10-game SEC schedule.
I was one of them that said it was easy. I think it's easy. It's ridiculous.
They open up Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas A&M, LSU, Missouri before they get the bye. And when they come out of the bye, it's Georgia. What's easy about that?
You get a bye before Georgia. Our bye week is after we play Alabama and go into Arkansas. I'd rather have the bye week before we play Bama. I wish we would have switched that. We've got to play.
Do you really think, though, that Tennessee is going to have a chance in that Bama game this
Absolutely.
year?
We had a chance in it last year. We had a chance. Until Garantano grew a big head and decided to fumble the ball in the end zone. Oh, you don't know. You
telling
don't know.
me there's a chance.
Oh, there's more than a chance. We got more than a puncher's chance. I promise you that. But we've got Missouri in Knoxville. I say we get the W there.
That's week 2?
Yeah, we'll go 2-0.
That's going to be a tough test, man.
Nah, new coach, new team, new quarterback going in. Yeah, I would say we get the W there.
Okay. And Texas A&M, we mentioned, is week 3.
That's going to be tough, man.
It's going to be tough.
Jimbo Fisher comes in. He's played Florida before when he's at Florida State. He knows the area. He knows the team. Does he know Dan Mullen? I don't know. He's not really had a chance to play Dan Mullen any. I don't think so. But who you got winning?
I think, again, a little bit of a homer's take on this, which is why this is probably terrible radio. But I think they can at least start off 3-0. The real test comes, again, week 4 with LSU. But Texas A&M, it's going to be at College Station. I'm convinced that this Florida team is going to improve on what they did last year. Trask is back. You got Perrine in there. I think the offense is going to be exciting.
Get out of here.
I'm just saying.
Get out of here, man.
So, yeah, I think Texas A&M at College Station, even, again, probably a tight game, and it's going to be so weird without fans in the stands or even with limited fans, especially when it comes to SEC football, because that's what it's all about.
So you say 3-0.
3-0 to start.
All right, we got to go at Georgia.
You're not winning that game.
I think we win. We win that game if we play good defensive ball and our offense can move the ball enough to score, but I doubt it. I'll say 2-1.
You win that game if, for some reason, Georgia's first-string offense and defense doesn't make it to the field for whatever reason.
Dude, man.
That's the only way.
Come on, man.
No trash talk here. That's just the way I see it.
Did we say South Carolina?
Georgia's pretty tough, man.
Now,
there's a little turnover there. That's the thing to watch this year, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got to break in a new quarterback. They got to break in a new running back. So, I think defensively we have a chance against them. But Georgia's probably going to come in with the best defense in the SEC. So that's what scares me, and I think that's what's going to stop us from beating them.
We look at that, too. We talk about the turnover at quarterback. Who's under center at UT? Who's going to be the week 1 starter at quarterback?
It's probably going to be Garantano. As mad as I hate to say it.
There's no way I would roll Garantano back out there.
You got to. He's the most experienced guy you got.
I mean, like, there's been weeks where he is the most hated man on campus.
I don't
and by
like
the
his,
Vols Nation.
I don't like him, man. I just don't like him. I mean, I would love nothing more than Harrison Bailey go out there and play, but you don't do that.
Garantano's just a bonehead.
He's a
when
bonehead.
you watch him play. When I first saw the guy, like, he looks like he would be somewhat of an athlete, right? He kind of had a little bit of that, Marcus Mariota light look to him with nowhere near the skill, especially on a college level, nowhere close. But man, who's your backup? Who's the second option that you have there?
We got Brian Meyer. I'd rather have Meyer at quarterback.
You would start him over Garantano.
I'd rather have him, but he can't stay healthy either. The guy can make the throws. He's a big quarterback. He's a build. He's got a strong arm, but he can't stay healthy. But to me, the only three quarterbacks we really know that I know have a chance, Garantano, Meyer, and then Harrison Bailey. But to me, it's going to be Garantano. So with that being said, I think we go 2-1. Then we get Kentucky. Then we get in Knoxville. I have to think on this because this is Stoops' team, and Stoop has really brought Kentucky to another level. Instead of being a bomb dweller like they've always been in the SEC, they're actually competing in the mid-range to possibly second or first spot if they're really good. So I'm going to say we'll still get the W because here the last couple of years, we've had Kentucky's number. And with it being a home game, possibly we'll have fans in the stand. It might make the difference. So I'm going to say a W. We'll go 3-1.
W, 3-1. So LSU comes to Gainesville for week 4 on the schedule here. Honestly, when you look at that game last year, going in, Florida looked good. Correct me if I'm wrong, we were undefeated going into that game with LSU.
Yes, you were undefeated.
And both teams looking good, but I still kind of had little expectations going against Joe Burrow and LSU. But the game was there to be had. With a few little breaks, there were 2 distinct, deep bombs where he just, for whatever reason, we had corners playing way too close, right?
Right.
Guys got lost out there. Burrow dominated that secondary down the stretch and ended up winning that game. But you have the turnover there being the main thing. Brennan Miles looks to be the redshirt junior, going to be the starter, at least starts the year at the top of the depth chart. I don't know much about him. Definitely.
We didn't know much about Joe Burrow either, man.
That's true. I like to think, just based on that matchup last year, and again, if I'm thinking that Florida's going to improve, this is a game that they have to win, especially at home. This is the first true test on this schedule, though. LSU's always a tough matchup, and especially when it comes to playing Florida. I mean, throughout the years, the history shows this matchup could be phenomenal.
It's a fighting game. I mean, it's war. When these two play, it's war. It's fun to watch.
But I'm not excited. I mean, I'm excited to watch that game, but it makes you a little bit nervous as a Florida fan going against LSU no matter what.
So do you think you win, though?
I think they can get it done.
So
4-0.
You're going to go 4-0.
4-0.
All right. Ryan said here first, LSU goes down to Florida in Gainesville, 4-0. All right. Then we got the big one, third Saturday in October. We got Alabama. So I'm going to say we upset them. We put them up. We put them down. It's there because we don't have to worry about Tua. We don't have to worry about a high-powered offense. The quarterback that will be in there for the Tide, I think his last name is Jones.
Mac Jones.
We dominated him. When he played, if you look at the film, we dominated him. It's just our bonehead quarterback gave the game away.
And he's going to be under center again, right? So you have a second to reconsider this, Chuck. Alabama, you just predicted in 2020, Tennessee's going to go in there. Wait. Is it at UT?
It's at UT.
So Bama's going to come in there, and they're going to walk away losers. Think about all your Bammer Jammer friends that are going to give you all the hell about hearing that. Do you want to reconsider that one?
No, I always do it anyways. I say this is the year we get them.
That lawnmower's going to start this year, by God.
Not you two. My Bammer Jammer friends always do that to me too. But I'm going to say we go for wait a minute, we go 5-1.
There you go.
We go 5-1. So who you got next?
When you look at Florida's schedule, out of the LSU game, they play Missouri in Gainesville, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, with or without fans. We still don't know. If you're going to come out of this gauntlet as far as the SEC, you have to win that game against Missouri. But as we've seen, there's certainly no gimme. I mean, they've only been in the SEC for a few years now. But they show promise out there as far as that goes. I don't know a ton about that roster when it comes to Missouri. I've still got to look into them a little bit further. But this is a game, when you look at it as a Florida Gator, I would predict that they would win it. It's one that you have to win when you look at that schedule going in.
You got to watch out for that letdown. Like you said, you come out of that big epic fight with LSU, or if it's a big win or close win, but you feel that like you breathe a sigh of relief thinking, oh, that game's over. But then you go to the next game, you get let down.
When you're playing in Gainesville, the advantage is usually quite significant no matter what. As far as playing in the swamp, what's the swamp going to be like as far as at limited capacity or possibly without fans? It's just still the concept. It's weird.
It's weird, but I think y'all get it done there. Should get it done. So you're undefeated right now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you're
going into the bye. So undefeated.
We go into the bye as well, 4-1, and you're 5-1. So right now
5-0.
So you're 5-0. So here we go. We come out of the bye. We go at Fayetteville, Arkansas, and play the Hogs, Suey boys down there in Arkansas, which I feel so terribly bad for. Whose mama did you smack to make so mad in the SEC to give you such a bad schedule?
Is their schedule? I haven't looked specifically at Arkansas's schedule. It's pretty rough.
It's rough. They scheduled Florida and Georgia as their additional opponents.
Ooh.
That is sad, man. That's a crime. But, hey, better them than me. Better them than me. We play the tough ones anyways, but we get it done. We mow them down. We'll go 6-1. I say 6-1.
Okay. And
excuse me, 5-1. My bad.
5-1.
5-1.
We got it correct.
We got it correct. It's 5-1. My bad. Chuckism.
5-1, Tennessee, rolling right through their schedule. Jeremy Pruitt riding on a high horse.
Exactly, man. I'm telling you.
Are you still living the Coach Doug's days? Have you got this all confused?
Hey, Coach Doug's, man. Anytime you want to come back to Tennessee, we'd love to have you. I don't know where he's at now. Last time I checked, he was like in Toledo.
He's retired, Chuck.
Is he retired now?
He's retired now.
Oh, man.
That fantasy's over. But,
that was great. That was great. That was so much fun.
Yeah, it gave you guys, a trophy to put on the mantle there, right?
No, if it was Florida, you'd be the same way. You'd be living that up, too.
Florida wins titles. And you know what? Maybe with the talent they have this year, we'll see if they have a chance.
We've got
to make
6
that happen.
national titles total. How many you got? 3 or 4? I think that's the last time I checked. That's more than you.
Chuck, calm down.
Just saying.
Calm down.
I'm just saying.
Calm down.
I'm just saying.
That lawnmower's going to start next year.
Oh, boy.
But if they're going to make a championship run, the biggest test coming out of the bye week's going to be in Jacksonville.
The world biggest cocktail bowl, man.
That's right, against Georgia. And Georgia, lots of talent there. That's a given. The big question is going to be where they did have some of the turnover from last year as far as that goes. And you got, when I'm looking at their depth chart, Jamie Newman going to be the starter there, looks like. And second on that on the chart, Stetson Bennett. I don't know much about either one of these guys. If they're playing at Georgia, they're going to be talented quarterbacks as far as that goes. And the rest of that lineup, just like the Alabamas and the Clemsons, right now they show that there's quite a bit of depth. You got stars that are ready to be made whenever they move on up that depth chart. This is going to be where you really see, is Florida going to stack up?
Right.
And the big question mark all along, which I don't even know if it's worth mentioning, injuries, COVID, how's it all going to stack up, especially at this point in the season?
Yeah, we're in a deep part of the season now where you're going to have to play some kind of significant role here, saying like COVID's out there, The injuries, I mean, you know how SEC beats up everybody. They beat up each other all the time, man. It's a rough conference, to say the least.
I mean, you watch out, though, for redshirt sophomore Zamir White. You know, that kid's going to be electric.
So
they breed running backs at Georgia. And behind that offensive line, here's where I see, if I'm honestly picking, Georgia could win that game. It's been a while since we've took that one.
It's 50-50 to me. To me, that game has always been 50-50.
I want to say that we'd roll through them. Here's where I'll predict on the schedule that they lose the first game, still keeping them in contention for the playoffs. But we'll say that's where they lose their first one, 5-1. If I'm just looking at it, trying to look at it objectively, although if Georgia's going to be beat, this is the year to beat them.
Right. So 5-1, you're 5-1 like me. Texas A&M is coming to Knoxville. I'm going to say that's a loss.
I think Jimbo Fisher's going to come in there and beat you on Rocky Top.
Yes. Dude, to me, Texas A&M is going to be a dark horse. Most of that offense is coming back. Defense, if they can improve, they're going to be a dangerous team. To me, they'll be the biggest dark horse in the SEC. So I say we lose. I'm going to say 5-2.
5-2, losing to Jimbo. And after the Georgia game, Florida is going back to Gainesville. They'll have Arkansas. And Franks could be the starter. We'll see if he's still the starter at that point at quarterback. That's the interesting headline there.
That's cool.
I would expect Florida to beat Arkansas this year and most every year going forward as far as from a talent perspective.
2020, man.
2020. We never know. I wouldn't be surprised by much, but I would be surprised if they lost to Arkansas or even in Nashville at Vanderbilt as the next on their schedule. So is that your next two
games?
Yeah, and I'll predict that they will roll through those games. Who do you got for the next two?
Next two, we got to travel to Auburn and Nashville. So we got to go to Auburn first. I think we beat them. We beat them.
I don't know.
And come on, we'll roll Vanderbilt. And then here comes the game. The game that usually kicks off our season in the SEC, the Florida and Tennessee matchup.
We're not there yet. That's the last game of the season.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's usually the part where it kicks off our season regularly, but I found it unusual that they put us dead last at the end of the year. They know something.
And going into that, so we said Arkansas, Vanderbilt. Florida also has Kentucky in Gainesville going right before that matchup with Tennessee and Knoxville. So what looks like, you would think, for the Gators, a fairly easy slate after Georgia, Arkansas at Vandy, back in Gainesville for Kentucky, but then going to Knoxville. That's an exciting game, and it's one that I've been hoping to actually go to that game this year. I do not see that happening.
I am so pumped. It's going to be unusual it playing in December. I'm used to a September game.
Right, it's usually warm, which the one thing I'll say, because I totally do not expect UT to stand a chance in that game, but I'll say the one thing UT does have going for them is that they'll have the cold weather at that time. And, Florida's going to have to come from what they're used to having as far as in that matchup. Is it going to matter much? I don't think so.
So I think we don't need to just say, well, my team's going, yours going team. Well, let's do like keys to victory. So it's like you said, cold weather could be a factor. For Tennessee to win this game, first of all, we can't turn over the football. That's been the case for the last 2 years. The last time you were in Knoxville, it was a nightmare. An absolute nightmare. I mean, everywhere. I mean, even when the tight end broke off, and I thought we were going to score, a Gator swiped it out of his hands, touchback, and I was like, yep, this is how it's going to go.
It was so rough to even watch.
Could you imagine as a UT fan? Yeah, you can't. But anyways, to me, the key is don't turn over the football. Play good defensive football. And to me, I think we can control Trask. We can control him easily.
Trask looked really good last year after he got to start, and he's getting to come in this year. He's got something to prove. Looks like a good kid. He's got a strong arm, and he has control over that offense. I think now that he's had time under center, I expect him to come out there and, again, maybe it's the homer in me, but yeah, a lot of times when you have a quarterback as a Heisman front runner potentially,
he's not.
I'll go out on a limb and say this. A lot of times it's the veteran guys, right?
It is, but
When it comes to college football, you don't see a guy with as much experience. Now, not as much starting experience until last year, but he's been around.
So, with that being said, we didn't pick a winner because it's obvious that we're going to pick one, like our home. We're going to be homeboys and pick our team, obviously.
Well, let's just look at the last couple matchups.
Oh, no,
How's
we
it
don't
going?
have to do that.
If we just look back at history and we say, the last time that we had the winner, we had the Dobbs Miracle, right? The Dobbs Miracle second half, and props to him, right?
Yeah, we balled out. That was a great game.
Played against Appleby, right? The guy was a bum.
Yeah, we're up 21-0. No excuses.
Right? It was a total miracle. When I turned that game on at first, I thought, wow, this UT team way worse than I thought. If this quarterback is doing this to this team, then
that's
he
what
came
I
back
thought.
to reality. He's one of the worst quarterbacks to suit up for the Gators in years. A transfer that came in, he wasn't expected to be the one playing. It is what it is. But Dobbs balled out in that second half. 38-28 that game. Last time that UT won before that, do you know when that was, Chuck?
I think it was in 2003.
2004.
Ah.
They actually won 2003 and 2004.
Yeah, the 2003 one I think was in Knoxville. It's when we had our kicker miss the extra point.
Now, Gainesville 2003, Knoxville 2004.
Okay. Yeah. That then I had it backwards. It was 2004. Our kicker missed. I forget what his name was, but he missed the extra point to give y'all the 1-point lead. Y'all had that stupid 15-yard penalty that gave us a chance, and then got our kicker in range.
Big time field goal.
Win 28-30. It was awesome.
But when we look at the last couple matchups in this series,
It's brutal.
something that would really make you think that this game will be tight. When we look at last year's matchup, 34-3, tight, right? They were in that.
Well, dude, man, come on.
We were looking at the year prior, though. A little closer, 47-21.
Dude, all right, I admit the last 2 years were pretty damn rough.
But one of my favorites of recent, right? We spoke of Franks earlier. Franks to Cleveland with that deep bomb. That was 2017. Number 23 ranked Tennessee in that game, right? Whoo!
Dude, I think you constantly memed me to death.
26-20.
Even the Vol video people pulled up a hot video of like the season to come, first home game for Tennessee. They have my stupid head up there doing the give up Cobra.
Yes, that's right.
Do you remember
How
that?
epic.
And you used my freaking face on every freaking meme known to mankind. Like, I think there was like the Cleveland catch for the Hail Mary.
Now that you mention it, I'll Photoshop a few more together just for you, bud.
Oh, thank you. I sure do appreciate it.
I remember watching that one, and I'm like, okay, we got some free football coming up, a little overtime and a rivalry game. All right. Because honestly, Franks was a little shaky throughout that game, but ended up chucks that ball. And it was like, it almost looked like one of the easier Hail Mary connections that I've seen in a long time. The coverage was way off.
If you watch the video, I have it on YouTube. It's on my page. My sister recorded that. If you watched, I'm sitting there eager, just kind of rocking back and forth saying, all right, we're going to overtime.
I see your soul leave your body in that video.
And my arms go down. I'm like, dear Lord.
The Cobra clutch.
Dear Lord, no. I knew it. And then next thing you know, I felt like, it's like I was dead, man. It felt like my UT soul left my body. But, man, that was brutal. That was so brutal. I think I'd rather have the blowout losses than to have that loss, man. That was
exciting, though. And that was two teams that weren't going too far as that goes. But big time Hail Mary from Franks, and both of our teams going to be playing him this year.
If he does that again when we go to Arkansas, if he does that again, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about it.
So what we're saying, I think both of us, because again, we'll just go ahead and assume Florida wins that one, right? And
no.
When we look at the playoffs, how do you think the playoffs shape up? And we don't know. We just saw just before we started recording, North Carolina suspended indefinitely their fall sports. how's the rest of the ACC going to look? Their Clemson wants to play.
I mean, that's the only team that we know of that's going to just say we're canceling.
It's not a good sign, though.
It's not a good sign, but it's not going to stop them. You got Clemson. That's their biggest hog money. That's their biggest cash cow.
Absolutely.
But it's going to have to take something drastic. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. But
Mac Brown in North Carolina was respectable last year, too.
I think they were like 7-8 wins. They were really good.
Yeah, got off to a good start.
Now, it definitely means like we're putting it on the shelf for now, but we could.
What does that mean? It's been so weird. And you're seeing some teams want to wait and play in the spring. That's not going to happen. I've been skeptical about college football happening at all. So I'm just excited if this 10-game schedule does happen for the SEC. But how's the playoffs look to you? Like, if you had to pick 4 teams right now, SEC, ACC, that we think a lot of those teams are going to be playing, who do you peg in there just with the limited teams that we think are going to be playing right now?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I think Tennessee has a shot.
Chuck, lay off the drugs.
I'm serious. It's 2020. Why not?
Do you believe in miracles?
Why not?
Not in this case. Tennessee's not going to be in my top 4.
Right.
Who's the rest of your top 4 of your imaginary playoff teams for 2020?
Nah, but being serious, Bama's going to be obviously in that conversation.
You think they'll be there?
Oh, they'll be there. Georgia, I think, will be there. Clemson, obviously going to be there. I really don't know who else in the ACC is going to be there. I think it'll be if they do the playoffs with just
Florida State. Hold
on. We've got the Big 12 possibly also doing it. Maybe Oklahoma.
For sure, right?
Maybe
you would
Oklahoma.
think those guys have been contenders for a
maybe
while
Texas,
now.
if Texas has a resurgence.
Texas, potentially.
You
like what you see out of the quarterback down
forgot
there
about
going
the Big
forward.
12.
He's a cocky kid. We'll see if he can get it done.
So I'll say Bama, Georgia, Clemson, and if Big 12 plays ball, I'll say Oklahoma.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like where you go there. You would think, I can't disagree much with that. Again, the homer in me would think that Florida does stand a chance. I think, if they build on last year, even you would say they probably do stand a chance of being there.
They've got to get over Georgia. You
Right.
know this, man. They've got to get over Georgia.
What's that record look like? Do you think there's an undefeated team that comes out of the SEC this year?
No.
It's going to be the hardest year ever for that.
To me, the 3 biggest teams that need to prove it, Texas A&M, Florida, and Tennessee. Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher experiment has worked okay so far, but they hired him to compete in the SEC and win championships. So he's got his staff and he's got his players in there. Same thing with Dan Mullen. You've got your system set up. Same thing with Pruitt. All 3 guys have something in common. They're in their 3rd year. They finally shuffled out all the old bad mojo of their old former teams.
Seeing each team make progressions.
So one of them is going to make a leap because we all play each other. Tennessee plays Texas A&M. Y'all play Texas A&M. We play each other, obviously.
Right.
One of us is going to make that jump and make a surprise run.
Do you expect much out of Leach down there?
2-8.
2-8? I mean, yeah, probably first season. Do you think that experiment's going to work with Mike Leach?
Maybe, but not this year.
So you think, because again, if he can get, it's the SEC, so you assume you're going to automatically have a much, at least like 5 times better defensive players recruited there than what he could get at any of his last 2 stops. Texas A&M, Washington State.
Obviously, the talent level is going to go up a little bit higher because you're in the South now. It just depends. I mean, I think this first year is going to be a wash.
If he gets his offensive recruits in there, if he gets, say, 2-3 years there, barring, catastrophic. I think when you bring a guy like Mike Leach in, you admit, look, unless for some reason he does something where in the media or that puts a bad look in the public's eye,
dude,
if he gets a couple years and gets his recruiting classes in there and gets his offense going, he could potentially do something.
But that offense does not play well against Bama.
But you're seeing even Bama go to offenses like that. That up-tempo.
Well, kind of.
Throw the hell out of the ball all over the place. Unless you're LSU, Florida, some of those teams, you're seeing a lot more teams throw the football.
When has Leach had a great defense?
Never. But again, look at his last 2 stops. Texas A&M. Texas A&M plays no defense.
Well, it's just You mean Texas Tech, right?
Texas Tech.
It's all good. It's all good.
Ryanism.
There
Watch
you go.
out.
But it's just he's never played defense, and you got to have defense. Maybe he's wised up, and maybe he's going to play. You're going to have to play a little defensive ball to last in the SEC.
Well, he's down there playing with the Lane Train too. What do you think about the Lane Train?
Egg Bowl is going to be fun. I think it'll be the blast of. It'll be that rivalry will go up to new heights because you got two media darlings. You got Leach, who is just hilarious behind the mic. You got the cocky Lane Kiffin. It's going to be fun.
I used to not like Lane Kiffin, but I don't know how you can not if you follow him on social media and stuff, and you just see the way his career's gone. Remember, at an early age, he was the Raiders head coach.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Right? He got fired.
Yeah.
Al Davis canned his ass. He ended up going – did he go straight from there to UT?
To Tennessee, yes.
So he became the Tennessee head coach, left in the middle of the night after a lot of his players started getting arrested. A lot of his recruits come in, got arrested. Showed some signs of promise. I had some uncles and some relatives and friends and stuff that were like, Lane Kiffin, once this guy gets a couple of recruiting classes in, there's going to be statues of Lane Kiffin up in Knoxville. Guess what?
It would have been.
He left overnight for his dream job, USC,
Still
right before the
forgive
sanctions took place. He got to coach there
That's
during
what
those.
he gets.
You think
That's
it was
what
karma?
that's karma. That was served on a cold platter. He deserved every bit of it.
Well, then he went from there and went as a coordinator at Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Have I left off anything in between there?
Yeah, I think it was Bama.
Went to Alabama as an offensive coordinator. Won a title, couple titles there.
Yeah, but him and Saban could never really get along.
Right.
They did enough for a professional level. When you're working in a workplace, Ryan, you do it on a professional level. That's where they were at. They wasn't buddies. And I think when Kiffin was looking for a job and stuff, Saban's like, "You out of here. I ain't dealing with you."
Was it FAU? Took the job down there.
Right. He was courting with FAU during a playoff game, and and Saban's like, "Get out of here. You're done."
That's right. I kind of forgot about that.
You get out of here. I don't want that.
Well, then he took them to heights you'd never seen. So now this is his first stop after that. For that school, though, you had so limited expectations. He started to even pull some pretty solid recruits. He
watched Last Chance U, and he got a couple of recruits out of there, I guess.
I think though at Ole Miss, I think we're going to see them competing within the next couple of years. I mean,
Ole Miss is a solid program. They've always had solid players come out of there. Dexter McCluster, Bo Kelly. I mean. There's a couple more. I'm not DJ Metcalf, AJ Brown. Right. I mean, just to name a few. I mean, it's a decent program.
Well, and then going back to Mississippi State, Mullen left them in good shape too.
Well, Leach is going to tear it apart and do it his way.
For sure he is,
well,
but he comes in and it's not a total wreck. He's coming into an SEC school, so we'll see what those guys can do. I think it'll be exciting. It's two fun coaches to have added to the SEC. For sure.
Exactly. So we'll close on the SEC schedule. How do you feel about it? We feel excited, don't we?
Excited.
Very. Let's go right into the NFL news. We've got Kittle and Kels got extensions. They kind of reset that market, man.
Giant contracts, man. They're just printing money.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised?
No. I mean, they're awesome. I mean, as far as offensive powers, and it's tight ends that have been. I mean, if you have those guys on your fantasy team, you're looking good. When you have one of those dominant tight ends like this, especially the way that those two teams especially rely on those guys, Kittle and Kelsey, they deserved what they got. But man, where are teams coming up with this money?
It's a power league, man. I mean, the NFL might as well just have a bank.
They're just printing it.
They're just printing it. But it's just, to me, it worries me as far as for Gianno Smith. Let's say he has a big year and, an extraordinary year.
I don't think we're paying him any kind of money like that.
I don't think we will, but it sets that mindset, though, that it's a possibility if Kels and Kittle can do it, I can do it too.
Right.
That's what worries me.
Well, I mean, you see those markets, though. Those dollars go up every year. And when you see highest paid player at the position, in the next year, 2 years, there's going to be the next guy when the cap goes up.
Right.
But it's done in the middle of a pandemic, which kind of leaves that to question, right?
And, so, I mean, it was expected. Kittle playing it out of his mind the last 2-3 years, dude deserved to get paid.
Dominant players.
So it makes me wonder, why didn't Grunt get paid?
Gronk just came back out of retirement, man. They said
Well,
that he looks like he's out of shape right now, too.
They said he can't get used to the Florida
He's been
weather.
partying and smoking a bunch of weed and stuff, probably. And that guy is just he's not ready, but he's going to get rehab and a little bit of strength training.
He did WWE wrestling there for a couple weeks. What
He's
are you
been doing
talking
all
about
kinds of
not
stuff,
being,
man.
What are you talking about not being in shape?
That was what the recent report coming out of Tampa Bay camp. Arians hinted that, maybe Gronk came in a little bit out of shape. To be expected,
yeah, obviously. I mean, he's been retired for 2 years now, so it's expected. Bad news for Dallas. They lost Gerald McCoy for the year with a quad tear, and you saw the video. Pretty brutal.
Yeah, there was actually a clause in the Cowboys' contract specifically for that injury because I guess there was something they saw in the team physical, so they've already cut him.
Yeah, they released him, but they're going to let him keep his $3 million signing bonus. So, I mean, he's going to come away with money.
That's rough. He's a big-time player. He's a guy that I was hoping the Titans pursued.
I would too, yeah.
But it's a big loss for Dallas early.
So, with that, they got Everson Griffin, though, to get him, to kind of fill that void. And Griffin's a good player. He's a good player.
He is. I don't think he's the level of player that Gerald McCoy is when it comes to wreaking havoc from the defensive line and what he could have done for Dallas this year. But, you wish the best for him and hope we see him back out there next year.
He could be a Titan next year.
We'll see.
He's up there in age, but he could be. You never know. Canadian Football League canceled its 2020 season.
No.
Oh, yeah. I'm so devastated. So devastated. But they said they canceled because of a financial crisis looming if they played this season. But they're planning to play 2021. It's just part of it.
Yeah, not surprised, man. I'm sure it costs a lot of money to put these games on. And when you can't have people in attendance or you have to fear that you're going to get people sick when they come to your games. Not a huge surprise, and if it means the business implications could be that big, I don't blame them.
With it being Canadian too, I mean, where's their TV at? I think it's like TSN. It's like a Canadian network.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of Canadian football league, but I feel bad for the Canadians.
Yeah, man, they got hockey.
Yeah, we got hockey, eh?
We got hockey, eh? But we had Melvin Gordon struggling to adjust to the climate of Denver. The reason I say
the altitude.
We're talking about? Yeah, he's struggling with the air.
That's what's being reported.
Yeah. So I'm saying that to you because you have him on your fantasy team. Are we thinking second thoughts of not keeping him?
Oh, no, I didn't. I was never going to keep Melvin Gordon this year.
Oh, you were never going to keep him?
No, not Melvin Gordon. Not Denver Melvin Gordon, no.
So now it's for sure that you're not keeping him.
Yeah, for sure. He's not going to. It's not specifically because he's struggling with the altitude. He could go off. He's a solid running back. He just dealt with some injuries there the last part of his career with the Chargers.
Right.
And also, with Eckler coming on, they were able to let him walk. But when it comes to him in Denver, I don't know that I believe in an offense with Drew Lock and those guys enough.
Agreed.
That I'm confident enough with that offensive line to keep him because I've got solid keepers in that specific league that I would much rather keep. He's like the fifth or sixth guy on that list.
Well, it's just like you said, cluttered. Just very cluttered there. Chris Hogan, remember that name? He used to be a Patriot, used to be a Buffalo Bill.
Used to be a lacrosse player.
Yeah, he's a New York Jet.
Yep. I saw that. They just need somebody to throw the ball to out there.
They got to. Cordell Patterson, former Tennessee Vol, electric runner wherever you put him, has officially switched to running back in Chicago.
Switched to running back.
I mean, he did it when he was in New England.
Like a hybrid last year. I think he was listed on the fantasy rosters as wide receiver / running back. Those players are valuable sometimes.
They can win you championships, man. Easily.
Yeah, I don't know if Cordell Patterson's going to win too many folks championships, but he can probably get a lot more done from the running back position because route running was always his problem, even in college. And you remember the team he was on. Think about Dariq Rogers.
Oh, yeah.
Him and Justin Hunter.
Tyler Bray, man. He was.
Oh, goodness.
That was a good team. Just Derek Dooley was a freaking idiot. Him and his orange pants.
The Derek Dooley era. Anytime you can drop a Derek Dooley reference. He had some great hair.
Oh, gosh.
Some of the greatest hair in the game. But you think about those three receivers and a lot of promise they showed in college.
wasted.
Never really got a lot done. Justin Hunter,
wasted.
wasted draft pick. I hate to say it, he was a nice guy. He
wasted,
couldn't get it done
man.
on the field.
He couldn't fit with the scheme, man. It didn't work.
Had some bad drops at some
Very
really bad times.
Brutal.
Derek Rogers, remember, he got in trouble and transferred, played down here at Tech. And
I remember that.
It was a lot of fun getting to watch. I watched every home game
I was
that
about
year.
to say,
I walked right to it from my apartment because I was still going to Tech at the time. And he was a man amongst boys there. He played a little bit with the Colts, but never really did much. But Cordero Patterson, I don't know. I would have predicted that the other two guys coming out of college would have had a longer NFL career. I would have been wrong on that.
Well, it's just Cordell is flexible. Like
He's quick.
Well, it's just he's got that speed he can do, but he's a good punt returner, kick returner.
I think we could agree that's where he's most dominant is in the return game.
Well, you got to be flexible. You can't be stuck in one position hoping that it goes for the best because it could fall through. You need to be flexible.
For sure.
And he really is. There was a Seahawks corner that got cut for sneaking in a visitor into his hotel. And didn't you say this chick was not even one bit hot?
Man, he was trying to pitch woo on the job, and you can't be doing that mess. You gotta, especially during a pandemic, and you got all these regulations, all these policies and rules, and he tries to sneak her in wearing Seahawks apparel, and I expected that it was probably a total banger. No disrespect to the girl, but no, not the most attractive female in the world, especially just for this case. Don't take that wrong. I'm not like super shallow as far as that goes.
Right.
You just expect, if it's that good that you're sneaking it in, and he was an undrafted free agent, right? So he gets signed. This is like his only chance probably to make a squad, and he blows it because he's trying to get blown.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. It's just, why would you do that? It's the same thing as Lou Williams going to a strip club and eating wings.
I think they said they caught him on the cameras too. So I guess they got her in, but then they're monitoring those cameras pretty tight.
And it wasn't a first round pick, like you said. It was a late round pick. Your only chance, you blew it because you wanted to get some tail.
And it's a pretty small girl. Like maybe it would have worked if he'd have got him a juicy female, that would have fit into those clothes a little bit better.
Maybe he need to get one of those chicks from the WAP video.
The WAP video.
We won't get into that one.
Moving right along.
But we'll talk a little bit of Titans news. Corey Davis passed his physical, which is good news.
Good news.
He's off the PUP list. He's on field. He's practicing. This is coming from Davenport, according to his Twitter account, so that's a good sign, man.
Good sign.
Also, according to Davenport, and it's been kind of a big news, we actually got a decent veteran quarterback. I don't know how Trevor Seaman is decent.
Trevor Siemian?
Just whatever his name is. But it's just like, to me, and they waived Cole McDonald.
7th round pick.
But I figured they would give him more time to grow. But I guess time is not of the essence.
They're totally done with the Hawaiian quarterbacks. Apparently, you thought when they got him in the 7th round, maybe they saw a little glimpse of something. But then they must have saw a glimpse of something once they got him there in Nashville that they said, no, not going to do it.
He just probably didn't. I mean, it's just like I said earlier. Maybe they see something that we don't see.
Well, Woodside beat him out, so, he's going to be in the mix. But Siemian comes in, former starter, and you know what? I think he's going to provide a good role there. You need a good backup quarterback in the league. I don't think he's a great backup quarterback, but I think he provides. He's better than like a Matt Castle, I think, at that point in his career.
It's just like he's not on my list of backups I would love to have for Tannehill.
I think his style kind of matches Tannehill. He's not nowhere near as athletic, but I mean just the style of play. And he's like, I compare him to like Chad Pennington,
yeah,
like a knockoff Chad Pennington.
Yeah, he's like a poor man's Chad Pennington, Joe Flacco kind of a thing. Maybe even, he could be coming in and he'd be like Billy Volek.
You can't compare him to Flacco. He's not got arm strength like that.
No, he doesn't. But still,
no disrespect to Flacco.
Poor man's Joe Flacco. But it's just, if, God forbid, if Tannehill goes down, maybe he'll come in and do like a Billy Volek and play a couple of games and be pretty good. You never know.
I like the signing. We needed a veteran backup.
We needed that cushion. And I guess they didn't feel like Cole is going to give us that cushion.
Don't get me wrong. Can we upgrade the position? Probably. I don't know where it would come from at this point. So Trevor Siemian it's good to see him come in and at least, provide some bit of veteran leadership there.
I would love to send Josh McCown. Why not? That dude.
One of the McCown brothers.
Give me one of the McCown brothers.
Lord, they've been everywhere else.
Switching over to Nick Chubb goes down in practice, going concussion protocol. Not a good sign because, you don't need to get on concussion protocol your first weeks of practicing. And then also knowing that you have a viable backup in Kareem Hunt that could take it at any time.
Yeah, I mean, it's still very early when it comes to these injuries. Concussion protocol, hopefully he can take his time getting out of that as far as clearing that, making sure he's getting back to his health. It's better than seeing a lower body injury or something like that. But again, concussions are never good. It's something that's going to happen in football.
Yeah.
We know more about it nowadays and how to treat them and how to avoid them and everything like that. But you see a slew of injuries as you get things kicked off. Your boy Jalen Hurd, he's already out for the season.
I think he had like a tore ACL, man.
Yeah, he tore his ACL out there with the Niners, I believe. Yeah.
That sucks. I mean, it is what it is.
You still feel for the kid even after he left UT?
Yeah, he can go flip burgers for a living. That's how I feel about it. In negative news, Darius Geis, as we talked about him last week, and it seems like we're seeing a trend with this guy now. I mean, he had domestic assault last week. This week we've had 2 females come out and say that they were raped when they were at LSU in 2016. So that might make him his sophomore, freshman year. God, I mean, this guy's a goner.
I think this is, other than court proceedings, this is the last we've heard of the guy in the NFL.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a goner. He's out. Innocent
until proven guilty. But again,
it paints that picture. It labels you now, whether you're guilty or not. That's just, it's perception.
Let the justice system do their thing. And, if he's proven not guilty, somebody will give him a chance. But it's not a good look. He's barely played. He's been hurt since he's been in the league. As he came into the league, like we mentioned last week, a lot of coaches, a lot of GMs were like, look, not impressed with this guy as far as just from, face-to-face interviews.
Right.
And maybe they saw some red flags that, maybe some true red flags.
So we'll keep it in Washington, but this is going to be good positive news. Alex Smith, a couple years ago, brutal leg break, man. And you figure that was the worst, but then he had a nasty infection with his surgeries, man. They had 17 to 20 procedures done on his leg?
Yeah, some gnarly looking stuff. And I don't know, did you see the picture of his leg currently?
Yeah, it looks like someone took a Cheeto and it looks like a thing.
Yeah, it looks like they made it out of silly putty or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't feel good about him playing on it. It's cool to see that he's back playing. But I don't know that I want to see him playing.
And when I mean good news, they've got him off the unable to perform list. He's going to play. He's going to compete. It's obviously, I think it's Haskins' job still to lose.
I think Alex Smith is automatically still the better quarterback on that team. I don't know that Haskins is going to pan out, but the Washington football team, I don't think you have high expectations for those guys this year anyways. I think it'd be in Alex Smith's best interest just to hopefully ride the pine this year.
Well, let's just say he does great and has a great comeback. I mean, it's already a great comeback story.
I hope the best for Alex Smith. Don't get me wrong. I like the guy.
But we might see one of the better comeback stories of all time. And speaking of which, this goes right into our top 5. Top 5 athlete comebacks of all time. This is our list. It doesn't have to necessarily be the listeners' list. Everybody has their own top 5, anything. But with it being athlete comebacks, Ryan, do you want to take the honors first or you want me to go first?
I'll go first, and I won't go in any reverse order or anything like that. We'll start at number 1. When it comes to comebacks, Tiger Woods, a couple years ago wins the Masters, comes back, wins his first major in years after he looked down and out. He had the troubles with Ivanka. Ivanka. What was his wife's name down there?
I forget her name, man.
Anyways, beautiful lady. Kind of humorous that I called her Ivanka. I have no idea where that came from. But he has the cheating scandal. He's dating all the women, right? Everything wrecks his marriage.
Lindsey Vonn.
Everything went downhill from there. Yeah. He had the injuries. Now back on the ladies, right? Back on the ladies. He's looking rejuvenated. I don't know what he went down, got some Mexican steroids or something, and he got things back on track. All joking aside, though, huge Tiger fan, and it was awesome to see him win the Masters. When you said you wanted to see an athlete come back, there was no way I couldn't put Tiger Woods at the top of the list.
That was awesome. That was a great moment.
And I think he's still got a couple Masters in him, I'm hoping.
Yeah, we're hoping.
Right now, there's a lot of really good golfers out there. So I think Tiger's got at least one more in him. But for me, comeback players, Tiger's got to be at the top of that list.
Who's number 2?
Number 2, Muhammad Ali.
That's a good one.
Muhammad Ali's boxing career had to be put on hiatus for a little while. Comes back. Dude's a bad man. Took it to Frazier. Fought for a long time as far as that goes. Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest fighters of all time. An American hero.
He's the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. All right, who you got number 3?
Seabiscuit.
Hey, I like that movie.
Seabiscuit, the horse. So, the little horse that could, he had a bad injury. I don't know if you know the whole story. I never actually watched the movie.
It's
Seabiscuit.
It's good. It's good. It's a good Tobey Maguire movie.
Tobey Maguire. But yeah, they say, he was hurt. So he was put on a ranch. I didn't think he'd ever compete again. Got a little bit fat, grazing around. The guy said, he would run up and down, the fence line, chasing deer and all that stuff. Well, he ended up getting back better, fully recovered. And the owner said, let's give him one more run. Let's train him up. And he came back and he clocked the fastest mile and a quarter in track history, second fastest ever on an American track when he went out there and won the Santa Anita 100-grander.
That's awesome. What a story. It's just same thing with the human body, the animal body. You never know. The body heals in mysterious ways, man. Mysterious ways. Who you got number 4?
Number 4, Adrian Peterson. Coming off of his injury. And you remember he had to miss a year.
I think it was 2012, 13-ish, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Tore his Achilles. Or was it both Achilles?
He tore his knee up, dude.
It was awful.
It was brutal.
But he came back in record time. It seemed like 6 or 7 months. Come back, rehabbed, and came back and had one of the best seasons of his career.
2,000 yards. He was only 35, 40 yards from the record, man.
For sure. And here I could say Peterson or Kobe as far as the same time. Again, rest in peace, Kobe. But similar injuries, not exactly as bad as Peterson's, though. And just to see the resurgence when he came back, he looked like he got better.
It was great. I remember having him that fantasy season. Stud.
For sure.
He is a true stud as far as he's probably the best running back in our generation.
For sure.
Ever. Probably.
To finish my list out, Tommy John.
Yeah.
He has a surgery named after him, and it saves pitchers' careers now. And it's kind of controversial because you've heard of some of these younger kids even getting Tommy John surgery if their parents think they're going to compete on a high level going forward. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of it.
They'll go ahead and get it done prior to almost try to gain an advantage. I don't believe in that whatsoever. But Tommy John went on to have a great career after he came back from surgery, the very first of its kind, something that seemed medieval to people when it came down to it. But yeah, you got to have a guy on the list that he has a surgery, a historic surgery named after him.
Yeah, and anytime you hear Tommy John, it's a bad deal because that's an injury that lasts. It's like an ACL tear.
Yeah, but it seems almost normal for pitchers nowadays.
Oh yeah, everybody has. It's like a procedure that like you said, you've got to have done if you want to stay on a high level.
For sure.
For sure. So nice top 5 list.
Who you got, Chuck?
All right, number 1, I got to go with Kurt Warner, man. What a story. What a wonderful story. He started out in Green Bay, drafted. He was an undrafted rookie, competing for a backup job. Didn't work out. Guess what? He's making $5 an hour in Iowa in a grocery store. The guy was just, you figure it was over from there. Then he goes to the AFL, Arena Football League, and plays for the Iowa Barn Burners. And just lights the world on fire there, gets a gig in St. Louis, and the rest is history. I think it took an injury. Trent Green goes down in the preseason. Like I said, rest is history. Kurt Warner goes on, wins a Super Bowl MVP. And then he turns around, goes back to the Super Bowl, loses a heartbreaker to to
the Steelers, right? With Arizona?
No, I'm talking about the New England game. It was the beginning of the dynasty.
Oh, right. You're right.
And then you had the Arizona game.
But he beat you remember him in the greatest show on turf, beat our Titans.
Yeah, like I said, he won a Super Bowl and got the Super Bowl MVP over us. But the story makes you think, if you put your mind to it, man, and keep at it, it will happen. It may not happen now.
You got to do the dirty work sometimes.
And
you
he
got to work
did.
your way up, and that's what
And he
Kurt Warner did.
And my hat's off to him. I applaud him. He's one of my favorite stories in the NFL.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. He was great in the NFL. Tiger Woods, obviously, don't need to go into depth.
You had him at number 2?
Yeah, I have him number 2. He is the 2019 Masters. What a moment. What a moment.
Big time moment.
Beautiful moment. Josh Hamilton is going to be my number 3.
Ooh.
I don't know what he's up to nowadays, but his story back in 2017, overcoming addictions, overcoming his drug addictions and everything, coming back to the Rangers and just not only playing well, but becoming a hitting god.
Dude,
man.
he was a slugger, and I think he's relapsed quite a few times. I don't
Yeah.
know what the most recent thing is. I hope he's fine as
But
far as that goes.
in that gap between 2007 to about 2012, those 4 or 5 years, he was untouchable, man. He was great. I mean, it just goes to show you can overcome addiction to reach your goals.
For sure.
Applaud. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where he's at now. Hopefully he's not relapsed. Hopefully he's living a great life. But like I said, hats off to you, Josh. Man, I just hope you're doing well. I really do. Peyton Manning is my number 4. Had neck fusion surgery. I mean, that is, and people don't realize how serious that is. He had to take off a year and a half for that surgery. It's serious. I mean, it's not only your neck, it's your nerves and everything. I think he had like bad tingling in his hands and everything. It's that because of the nerve.
Right.
So when we saw him leave the Colts, I thought it was the end of the era. I thought we would never see the old Peyton again.
Well, you remember the Titans were courting him too.
I wanted him. I'm not going to lie.
I've always, for whatever reason, especially as a Colt, I've never liked Peyton Manning, honestly. I respect him. I think he's funny as hell when he does some of his skits and stuff on TV. I don't like where he breaks the stuff down on that ESPN Plus stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people do, and I'm sure he'll do good as far as an analyst somewhere. Never liked him as a football player, really, and it would have been so tough to root for him as a Titans quarterback. I would have been forced to, though.
Right. But it didn't happen. But he gets recruited by John Elway. The only one time that John Elway hits a home run at quarterback.
He went out there and noodle-armed it around a little bit. His first year there was awesome, though.
2013, first year, come out as the most dominant.
It surprised me.
I never thought we would ever see that again, and we got that and then some. I think it was like 5,400-something yards, 55 touchdowns. Incredible. Mahomes is not even close to that.
It was the PEDs and stuff, huh? Because you remember the little story. I don't remember all the details, but something about his wife having stuff shipped under her name. Was it steroids or PEDs or something like that along those lines? There was a story. I think they said it was a non-story or something like that, but makes you wonder.
It makes you wonder, but after that year, though, you can just start seeing that decline a little bit, especially his last year. He, like you said, noodle-armed it.
Noodle-armed his way to a Super Bowl, though. He got just enough to get it done.
That defense carried that team to the Super Bowl. But it was still a great story. I'm not a Peyton Manning fan by any stretch, but a neck fusion surgery is a very serious deal. But like you said, modern medicine does a lot of things.
Fun fact, Peyton Manning never beat Florida either.
Moving on. Moving on. You had to, didn't you? It kept us from a national title, and it kept us from having a first Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Charles Woodson, for freaking crying out loud, a corner gets it.
He had a pretty good career, too.
Yeah, get out of here. Not Heisman worthy. But my last one is Michael Vick.
Michael Vick.
Yes. Now, I'll probably make people mad by saying this is a great comeback. It is a good feel-good story. It's a feel-good story because he made a mistake. It was a very brutal, nasty mistake, killing dogs and whatnot. But when you saw him do his time, but he did his time. He didn't get out of it. He went to prison. He lost the world. But to me,
some pretty serious stuff. All that dogfighting stuff.
It ruined everything. He had the richest contract in the NFL, had a deal with Nike, had his own Nike shoe. Dude, he had the world in his hands.
Pete is number one wanted on their hit list. And again, it was some pretty bad stuff. Some of the stuff that come out of that. But he learned his lesson when he came back to the Eagles.
He was humble.
I didn't expect him to be quite as good as he was after the prison time and all that.
But he was more humble.
For sure. He seemed like a different guy.
I think he wrote a book.
You remember Tony Dungy? He backed him real big time
as
far as that goes.
I mean, it made him realize that you can lose everything so quickly by your own stupid mistakes. And I think he learned from that. And when he got to the Eagles, it was Kevin Kolb at first that started.
Well, I think McNabb was there the first year at least, wasn't he?
Maybe.
Because they played together a little bit. We'll fact check that one, but I'm pretty sure he was.
I remember when Kevin Kolb got hurt. Here comes Michael Vick. And he plays a great game against Green Bay, and we're off to the races. He has an MVP-like year, man. He did great. I mean, to me, it just shows when you have a second chance, you should run with it. And you can get mad and say, well, what about the dogs? Okay, it was horrible. But he learned from it. He didn't avoid prison time. He did his time. He learned from it, and he came back humbled, had a great couple of years in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and he obviously just came from an upbringing and from an environment where that must have been a little bit more normal than what it is for anybody else in the world. Because dogfighting, man, it's very cruel. But look, you know, I have a half uncle who he used to dogfight and stuff. So some of my family members have told me about all that stuff. He used to do a bunch of other bad shit too. But, you know, it happens. But the fact that Mike Vick, of all people, like especially the star power that he had when this happened, could be leading a ring of dogfighting. Pretty crazy stuff.
It was
the way that whole
unheard
thing
of.
unfolded. I mean, it was headlines for quite a while.
It was crazy.
But it was awesome to see his comeback, and I think this is one of the best comebacks that we've seen as far as that goes.
Well,
and some people are still going to hate Mike Vick, but you know what? I don't think you can. I think you got to forgive at some point.
Right.
And he come out there, and I think he played pretty good, and he was lucky to play behind Cobb. It was crazy to see that, you know, he was fortunate enough to know that guy was just a tackle away from being out of any game.
Oh, dude, he was a China glass, man. He was going to break when you touch him. But that's our top 5. We got a new segment, and I'm really excited for this new segment. We talked about it last week. We announced some of the matchups that we're going to have. This is Bracket Busters. Now, what this is kind of like an NCAA-style 16-team format. We're going to do 4 games this week and 4 games next week for the opening round. So, let's start this opening round. Here's how it works. We're going to do 4 games tonight. And then next week, we'll do the next 4 next week. Now, the scoring goes like this. Brian will have a pick, and I will have a pick. If we have a tie, we'll go to the polls, and whoever has that will be the tiebreaker. Ryan, does that sound good to you, brother?
Sounds good to me.
So let's start this first matchup off of the opening round. We have Super Bowl 51 versus Super Bowl 42. 2 great Super Bowls right there, both involving the Patriots, 1 loss for them and 1 triumphant win. This game, both these games have classic moments in them. I'll start with Super Bowl 42. You have the New England Patriots undefeated, on the cusp of history as the second undefeated team in league history, versus a team of the New York Giants that really should have had no business being there.
Well, they got hot late going into the playoffs that year and upset some pretty big teams along the way. If I was gambling on that game, which I wasn't, luckily, because I was a broke college student, definitely would have picked New England in that game, especially with the firepower they had.
Oh, it was ridiculous. I mean, they had Stallworth, Moss, Welker. And at running back, I think they had Mahoney or whatever. Well, they didn't run a lot. They passed a lot.
They sure did.
So, I mean, Tom Brady on fire that year. I mean, that defense was playing great. Rodney Harrison, Teddy Bruschi, Richard Seymour. I mean, I could name a few on that defense. Sante Samuel was there. I mean, that was a solid, great team. So, like I said, on the cusp of history.
And on the cusp of victory, and then the David Tyree catch, the corner pass to Plaxico Burress. The rest is history. The Giants win that one. They go on to beat them again a couple years later. But I think that one by far is a very, very memorable game. Can it stack up to Super Bowl 51 in your opinion?
So go ahead and explain Super Bowl 51 since I explained.
Super Bowl 51, if I remember correctly, was the Atlanta comeback game,
it is,
right?
Yeah.
So Atlanta goes up 28-3 going into the half. Then, for whatever reason, stop running the ball and start letting Matt Ryan throw incompletions in the second half, which leads to letting Tom Brady back into the game, one of his greatest performances of all time as far as single-handedly putting the team on his back and coming back. And now there were some pretty big situations that happened throughout that game. But I remember watching it, and the whole bar there hated Tom Brady, but it was pretty fun to watch that comeback. In my opinion, I would vote Super Bowl 42 in this case, though. I think that was just a bigger moment.
Right. It's just 51, as entertaining as it was. When I think of moments remembered, yes, the comeback is remembered, but that Tyree catch, that
crazy.
The Eli breaking free from Richard Seymour and just, I mean, didn't even look who he was throwing to, throws up a prayer.
Rodney Harrison right there, can't believe it.
Bubblegum catch. And to me, that turned the tide. That killed the momentum, if there was any from New England. So I'm with you. Super Bowl 42, we don't need to go to the polls. I think it's unanimous. Even if we did go to the polls, we have New England and New York Giants Super Bowl 42 as the winner in that cause. So that's a clean sweep. So I think we can agree that Super Bowl 42 will move on to the next round.
I think we can agree there. So all around, Super Bowl 42 advances.
Pressure from Thomas off the edge. Eli Manning stays on his feet. Airs it out down the field. It is caught by Tyree. Oh, my God. This ball's thrown, and Tyree just goes up for it like a basketball player. Harrison trying to knock it down. And Eli, man, I don't know how he got out of there. I thought he was on the ground, and then he came out of the pile and just slings it.
What's the next matchup we got?
All right, the next one, the Super Bowl 42, will be waiting on the 2012 Texas A&M Bama game versus the 2008 Texas Tech game.
Ooh, okay.
Now, these two games, I mean, they really didn't, at the end of the season, didn't really matter. I mean, Bama, I think, went on to win the national championship. But this game, both these games were great.
They were.
They were great games.
Before we even go into the breakdown, I think I brought the Texas Tech one to the table when we listed these. I think that one wins, so I'll go ahead and put my vote for Texas Tech just because I had no dog in that race. I was off my couch for that one. Graham Harrell, Michael Crabtree, and the moment was so big, like they were out of timeouts. So if he didn't get out of bounds, if he had the choice to either try to get out of bounds, go for another play. But what does Michael Crabtree do on that stage? Tiptoes along the sideline, gets into the end zone for the win, upsets Texas' title hopes that year.
Yeah.
Big time play.
That was the one game that cost Texas because I think it was like a tie between Oklahoma and Texas for them to go on to the Big 12 championship. They gave it to Oklahoma.
Because maybe one of the biggest wins in Texas Tech history.
It was the biggest win because that put them to number one after that. Oh, man, it's just...
But when you look at who they're up against, so the Texas A&M, Bama. Remind me of that game.
Well, that game, to me,
Manziel Mania, right?
oh, man. I mean, it's just A&M, before that game, really did not have that signature win, that big come-to-Jesus moment like that we're here in the SEC now. We can beat anybody.
That game was very exciting, too, though. We got to see Johnny Manziel show out in that game.
We saw his IQ really show out in that game.
This is a pretty close one, though. You know what? And it makes me reevaluate when we do think back and you look at how exciting Manziel was. And when you got to see him do it against that Alabama team, it showed that at least collegiately, he was for real, right?
Right.
I mean, you got to see him stack up against those guys, go out and beat them and do it very clutch. So you may sway me on this. Chuck, which one of these guys are you picking and why? Which game?
Man, this is tough. I've watched both of them games. It was fun. I've got to go with Texas and Texas Tech, man.
I think we agree on that one.
Because even though this was the game, Texas A&M and Bama game was the birth of Johnny football, the game that put Johnny Manziel on the map as far as Heisman, superstar hype, we got to go by the classic, Texas Tech and Texas. And even if we did it, Texas Tech and Tech would have won it as well. So,
what was that one? What was the count on that one?
It was 12-10.
Oh, pretty close.
It was pretty close.
Like I said, I mean, this one by
it
far
was a toss.
The tightest one so far.
Cheer for Texas Tech. 8 seconds. Second down now. Deep strike. Got the big man. Top try. Pulls free. And touchdown. Red Raiders with a second to go.
So we have Texas Tech and Texas 2008 game going on to the next round to face off with Super Bowl 42. Be interesting to see. But let's go on to the next round, and this one is a tough one, man, because both of these games were so crazy at the end. For Titans fans, we love this. The Music City Miracle. If you don't know what that is, that's back in 1999.
Hit it up on YouTube.
Oh, hit it up anywhere. Any Titans fans would be glad to tell you what it is. It's the Tennessee-Buffalo wild card game. Wild game, defensive fight, and Buffalo got the ball last part of the game, drove it down, got the field goal, and then next thing you know, it's like, man, we almost had it, man. But then out of the jaws of defeat,
I'd given up hope already.
Frank Wycheck yanks the ball out.
No. Lorenzo Neal caught that squib. Then he hands it. He's like, I don't want it. Hot potatoes it right over to Wycheck. And then Wycheck with the lateral over to Dyson, right?
Right.
And if you've heard the story, it was supposed to be Bird, I believe, that actually caught that. He wasn't out there for that play. He was hurt. I've seen the whole thing. I met all three of those guys at the up at the Music City complex there. They had Sports Fest up there a couple of years back. It was really cool to hear them retell the story. I even got this T-shirt that shows the play design on it. And at the bottom it says, "There's no flags on the field."
It's a miracle!
And it was just, I mean, you always remember where you're at that moment. That's going to be a tough one to beat. You put it up against, though, the 2013 Iron Bowl, right? The kick six.
Yes. This game was wild. And to my enjoyment of all my Bammer Jammer buddies who lost their minds to this. I had one in denial for a week. We didn't lose that game. Yeah, you did. You lost the game. But
you sure did.
But anyways, if you don't know what kick six is, you've been living under a rock. But it's long story short, Bama goes up for a field goal kick to try to least.
It looked like they were going to win it. Again, I squeezed into the house. I'd been listening to that game on the radio on the way home, and I was watching it prior to heading home. So I squeezed in the door. It looks like all along Auburn's going to win that game, but then Alabama has the game right there to be had. But you know Alabama's kicking troubles.
Very.
They've always had kicking troubles, and this was the worst. They leave the field goal short. Auburn player catches the ball.
Chris Davis,
correct. Biggest play of his life.
And it goes back to the smarts of Malzahn. Malzahn, because he called a timeout before that field goal and put Davis back there and all the athletic personnel in, because he knew that Saban did not put no athletic speedsters
Right,
on
you've got your offensive linemen, the big guys out there on your special teams.
What a call. What a smart move. That's what wins you championships.
Oh, for sure.
Now,
And a lot of times, like, you saw this happen with Devin Hester in the game against the Cardinals back in the day when they made that run, went to the Super Bowl that year. This is one of the first times that I'd ever seen this, and I was like, wait a second, he can take that ball, right?
yeah,
And he sure did. He took that thing, man, and it was such an exciting play.
took it to the house.
Like, and it's just like so surreal in the moment watching plays like that decide a game, especially on such a big moment and such a rivalry game.
Right.
But man, how do you match these two up? The Music City Miracle against the Kick Six.
That's incredible. I mean, you can't, there's really no, they're almost the same. It catapulted both teams to their championship games. And they both lost in the last minutes of the game.
Let's go. So before we make our call, what did the polls say on this one? I'm very curious.
It's a tie.
Ooh, a tie?
11-11. It's a tie.
So we get to break the tie.
So it's a tie. So scratch it.
I think the tiebreaker goes to the home team. I think the Music City Miracle has to get this one. That's one that on every top list, now both of these are going to be there, but I think you're going to see the Music City Miracle ahead of that on any of those lists.
Right.
You hear about it constantly. It's going to be a constant thing every time the Titans play the Bills, right? I mean, and in both of these cases, going to be brought up, but I think it's that much more memorable because of that Super Bowl run and what it meant for the city of Nashville. I think the tiebreaker goes to Music City Miracle. What do you think, though?
I agree, because they did it first. It was an unheard of play. Now, granted, the kick, like you said, kick six in its own right is a crazy play on its own. It's one of a kind. It's by far probably the most memorable in college football in the last 50 years.
And I love seeing Bama get beat in that game.
Oh, that
but
was so funny.
have to go with our boys.
That was so funny. Hey, for the boys, man, I'm going to say Music City Miracle by an inch. The Music City Miracle pulls a miracle over kick six.
By a yard.
By a yard. So they move on to the next round.
Do the Titans have a miracle left in them in what has been a magical season to this point? If they do, they need it now. Christie kicks it high and short. Going to be fielded by Lorenzo Neal at the 25. Pitches it back to Wycheck. He throws it across the field to Dyson. He's got something. 30, he's got 40, something. 50, he's got it. 40, he's got it. 20, 10. He's got it. End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
So with that being said, let's go to our last matchup of part one. The 2018 National Championship game, which was Alabama and Georgia versus the 2019 National Championship game, Alabama, Clemson.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Both that you have in both cases, you have two quarterbacks that came of age, that really balled out to win it for their teams.
And we've seen Deshaun Watson get it done in the league, speaking of the Bama-Clemson game, because that was the game where Deshaun Watson led them back after defeat the prior year in a very tight contest.
It was 40-45 the prior year. It
comes back and wins it. I think that was the little bit of a rub play, and they got Renfro open on the right. But I watched the whole game. Of course, I've watched both of these full games, but the excitement, man, when he hit Renfro in the end zone.
Oh,
and,
man.
I'm not a Clemson fan, but I think they're a fun team to watch. I like Dabo. I like what he has going out there. It's an exciting team. I've been on that campus before. Dude, such a sweet place out there, Clemson.
It was awesome.
I'm getting off topic a little bit, but that Bama-Clemson game, phenomenal. But when you look at Bama-Georgia, that it's up against in this one, as far as that 2018 game, I think we both agree, crazy shootout of a game.
Right. And I made a mistake. It's not 2019. It was 2017. Chuckism.
2017. I was about to say that seems a little bit too recent, but I was strictly reading off of the guys you prepared.
It was
little Chuckism, but I think we know what we're talking about here, as far as when you look at that matchup.
And then you got the Georgia and Bama game. Georgia beating the brakes off them first half, man. Defensively, they were smothering Jalen Hurts.
It looked like they had it.
I was like, Kirby Smart's finally going to get him. It's finally going to be the first assistant to get Nick Saban. But, man, out of nowhere, here comes Tua Tagovailoa and just balls out.
Showed what he had in that left arm.
And it showed what Nick Saban had in his pants. Balls, man.
For sure. That's a big-time move. And maybe a desperate move, but it worked.
But between Saban's gutsy call and Tua, they came back and won a heck of a game. I mean, you're basically playing an away game against Georgia because that was in Atlanta, the heart of Georgia country, man. And you go in with a freshman quarterback and win that game.
Who do you have in this matchup?
I got to go 2018 National Championship.
Bama, Georgia.
Yes.
See, here's where we're going to disagree, and I think the Bama-Clemson matchup was more memorable to me, although both of them big-time matchups. But just seeing what Deshaun Watson did there, I don't know, a little bit more memorable to me. But let's go to the poll for the tiebreaker.
Oh, man, we're going to actually use the poll. So, in a unanimous decision, 12-0.
Whoa.
Bama, Georgia.
I should have figured we're in SEC country.
Yeah, so Bama, Georgia, I figured when I ran the poll, a lot of my Bama buddies got on there, they easily said, I should have banned. What? I should have banned those boys from getting on
You can't disagree with either one of these, but you know what? I accept that.
So, our winners for tonight is Super Bowl 42 will match up with 2008 Texas and Texas Tech. Interesting matchup there. And then we got the Music City Miracle matching up with the 2018 National Championship game, Bama and Georgia.
It'll be interesting to see how that one goes too. You know, the Titans fans basically against the collegiate fans. As far as SEC country, Bama, Georgia on as far as on the page. And if you don't like the page, get on there, like it, watch out for this matchup and other matchups going forward, and be a part of the show a bit here.
Exactly. And we want to thank the ones that voted. I think we had a good about 15, 20 that pulled out for our first.
Yeah, it's a good start.
That's a good start. So, I mean, I appreciate each and every one of you. I may have to chase some of you down, but I appreciate you taking the time to vote. And we're going to continue to do that. And now next week we'll have part 2. I'm fixing to post it up probably tonight so we can go ahead and start getting votes in. But we've got part 1 done. Part 2's next week, man.
Look for those matchups and vote.
And
like,
vote.
And all the above. Subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe again.
Yes, absolutely. We're on YouTube as well. So give us a hit up, man. This Bracket Busters, pretty fun, not bad, man, for the first time, man.
For sure, and I'll hit you with my closing thoughts and let you go ahead and hit yours, Chuck, as we get ready for this one.
Take it away, brother. What you got for us?
So props to you first with your social media coordination. You're doing a good job there.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Getting the word out there and getting folks participating as far as that goes. You're doing a good job there. Doing a good job with the outlines you're bringing in every week. Having a lot of fun. Talking sports. Watching sports. It's going to be interesting to see how these NBA playoffs wrap up. Currently, Mavericks leading the Clippers as we speak in the third quarter. We'll see how that one finishes and see if they can level that playing field a little bit. Loving the NBA. Let's go Braves. Let's hope they can get those bats and get the pitchers going as far as that goes. And here's me, fingers crossed, toes crossed. I'll cross my eyes if I need to for this SEC schedule to actually happen and, to have football this fall.
Amen.
NFL and college football in whatever capacity we have it. Hopefully they can get it done safely. Hopefully we get full seasons.
Well, all signs are pointing up, man.
All signs are pointing up, man. I'm excited.
I'll go ahead and close on this, and I'll take us home. What do you say? I'll take us home, man.
Take us home, Chuck.
All right, man. For you folks out there, thank you for following in, listening to us. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'm Chuck.
I'm Ryan.
And until next time, we'll do part 2 of Bracket Busters. We'll pull that out, and then we'll have round 1 completed and get ready for round 2 on the next episode as well. So, folks, stay clean tonight. This is Chuck Hicks here with you on the Run and Shoot podcast. Have a great night.
Peace out.
Yo!